Well, hi everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 157. And today we're going to be talking about the Hatchetman again, in its new iteration of the 3050 era, with all of its good, sort of new technologies added to it. And I think we have to go back to, geez, almost 2 years ago maybe? The last time I talked about this? Year and a half ago, can't remember. It's been a while. Now, if you want to go back and look at the other one, look it up in the search menu, and you'll find it in the archives. Now, the Hatchetman, that 45-ton mech. It's a 464, which is still the same, identical the way it used to be. It does, though, have an XL engine, which is, to me, limits its life expectancy even more. But it does have 152 points of armor. So they increased, I think it had like 104 roughly, somewhere in there, the last time. But with the XL engine, they tossed in some of that weight into more armor, which is good. You know, it needs it. And it basically increased some of the weapon systems. Alright, so now we have an LBX-10, which is an improvement, I think, over the autocan, AC-10 autocan. If you're going to leave an AC-10 on, at least use an I'd rather have an LBX cannon. But it only carries 1 ton of ammo, so if you're going to put an LBX on, at least put an extra ton of ammo on board so you can at least use the cluster or the solid shot, depending on how you want to use it for target ranges. It does have case, which is a major improvement, so if you lose a torso, at least the pilot isn't going to get nuked. Mech's going to be dead because you got XL engines, but at least it's only 3 engine hits that you have to refurbish the mech instead of just picking up scrap pieces. Now it does change the medium lasers up to medium pulse lasers in the right arm, left arm, and left torso. Does carry the iconic hatchet, which makes it called the Hatchetman. And then it has its jump jets in right and left torso, or legs. I mean, not torsos, legs. The role is still identical. It's a city fighter. It's enclosed type fighting kind of mech because you're trying to deliver. You got a weapon system that at least shoots out a good distance so you can hit the target, do some damage to it while you're closing, or if you're fighting in an alley, pop out an alleyway, jump over or whatever it may be, hit him with that autocannon and lay into him with the axe. The one nice thing is that it doesn't have any weapon systems other than the hatchet in that right arm, so you can unload with everything, cook yourself in a slow barbecue rotisserie, and then hammer him with a hatchet and hopefully get a headshot, and then jump away the next turn and cool off. You know, that's kind of how you work with this thing, because if you fire everything on this mech and jump at the same time, your movement modifiers and to hit modifiers are going to be, you're losing 1 movement and 1 + 1 to hit the next turn, so you're going to find yourself someplace to disappear to cool off. It's going to take you a while to cool off because it only has 10 single heat sinks. They didn't give it double. You know, this, they might say because, yeah, the technology hasn't been evolved enough at the time to give it double heat sinks because they're throwing it into better weapons or mechs and stuff like that. But I just believe that a mech like this, it needs it. If you put these kind of weapon systems on it, it was having a heat problem before. This is a great way to solve some of that problem. So if you put double heat sinks on it, it can fire everything, jump, and then not worry about cooking or anything of that nature. So you're better off with the double heat sinks. So that is kind of like how I look at it. It's a major problem is the heat. Because if you look at it, just firing the medium pulse lasers, you are going to go over the heat scale, and then if you jump, then you're really frying this guy. So I have a problem with how that's configured. All right, moving on. There is a bunch of different variants of this mech. It is a mech that's been worked on over the years pretty extensively. All right, we have the 5D, uses an XL engine with the ultra autocannon. All right, so I think that one still only has a single ton of ammo, but life expectancy is kind of short anyway. It has a single ER medium laser, which is good because this came out in 3062, so now you have ER medium lasers, and it backs it all up with a targeting computer. All right, so if you jump, you're at least mitigating some of that negatives to hit. And if you got a good pilot in this thing, then you're probably having a net zero when it comes to hitting, and you just have to worry about your opponent's modifiers. So that's kind of interesting. Not that I'm a big fan of putting autocannons in a medium or light mech to begin with, so your mileage may vary, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of these autocannons. Then we got the 5K, which obviously the big difference is that they flopped out the hatchet for a sword because, hey, we're the Draconians combined, and, well, it's uncouth to have a axe, so we're going to have a sword. And then it replaces the autocannon with a MRM30 and a C3 slave, so, and double heatsink. So it's a major improvement in some ways. It can be used as a spotter or linked up with the rest of the lance. And it has the heat sinks to go with it. And then an RM30, you can do some good damage with that, more than you can with the AC-10. But there's other drawbacks with that weapon system. So there you go. Okay, then we have the 5S, which is we just talked about. Then we got the 5DD. Double D, yeah. Instead of the Ultra AC-10, it carries a rotary AC-2 and an ER medium laser linked to a targeting computer. So it's basically downgraded the autocannon for a rotary 2. This just screams to me anti-aircraft mech in a way. So if you want a city fighting, hatchet wielding, take out vehicles or hamper vehicles from a good distance, take out VTOLs, this might be the way to go. But once again, we're throwing an autocannon on a medium mech, and I'm not a big fan of it. Alright, then the 6D, which was introduced in 3065. It still carries the rotary 2 and ER medium laser, target computer. So basically it's just the same mech that we just talked about. So yeah. Okay, alright. Now this one here, the 6D, got that all mixed up, reading the wrong line. Now the 6D does have the XL engine. Now the interesting thing is it is now a 585, which is good. You increase the speed a little bit, so you get a little bit more mobility, which is, if you're going to put an XL engine, you might as well upgrade the movement modifiers that you get with this thing. So why not? Has a rotary 5 autocannon. Once again, we're playing with rotor autocannons, which I guess is, if it has an autocannon, just keep it an autocannon. Rack 5. Alright, so then we have an ER medium laser, has a trio of them, and it has ECM, which is good, and mounts a good amount of armor, which is an increase slightly more than what we have here, and it has double heat sinks. Alright, so that isn't bad. So The 6D is one I've kind of played with. I played with a variant of the 6D before at Gen Con, where it did drop off the autocannon fire. It carried an ER PPC. So yeah, I like the one with the ER PPC version, and it also I think it did have maybe it was a WOB mech. They took it and replaced the autocannon with a ER PPC. It had 3 ER medium lasers, ECM, and what do you call it? C3 system. Yeah, because it linked up. Because I think it was a WOB mech, so it was kind of a variation of that. So that was not a bad mech there. I really enjoyed playing that version of it. All right, then we had a 6S, the Fedcom Civil War in 3064. Replaces the XL engine with a light engine. Well, that's kind of a good increase in survivability. Has pulse lasers replaced with ER models, and then upgrades the double strength. It had double heat sink. So, and an additional magazine for the autocannon. Alright, so has 2 tons of ammo for the autocannon. So yeah, that is a better version of it. So at least it's give you some more options with your weapon system. Then we have the 6M. This is from the Free Worlds League, produced by X-Larian Trophies by during the Jihad. It has medium pulse lasers, has the hatchet, adds a beagle probes instead of some ECM, and then it carries around a heavy PPC. So yeah, it's got a good hitting weapon systems. Finally got rid of the autocannon in favor of a big energy weapon, and it gets rid of the case, which I think they probably tossed it into either the weapon or the more armor. And the 7D, let's not really talk about it. It's Dark Age. Dark Age doesn't exist. During the development, and then we got the 7S during the Jihad in the 3084. The Hatchetman has been expanded beyond its urban combat, so now it's using a light engine. That's okay, good. Uses a bigger one, so it's a 585. Has ferrofibrous armor and case, and carries Guardian ECM, and then it has an MML9 instead of the autocannon. So it gives it some range with its weapon systems. Not a lot of damage comparatively, so you have a slight decrease out at long range with it, but when you get closer, it's a much better system. It just depends. So you got enough ammunition for your different load types. Then we have this, so that could be a good one for. It would work in a city fight if you probably just get rid of the long range and kept it with shorter range ammunition. But it can be used outside the city then, so you got longer range with it, so you can do some damage out at ranges. Then we had the 7R, Republic of the Sea. After the Capellan Crusades, the Hatchman uses a light engine. Okay, increase the ground speed, which is good. It has better the jump jets. It has ferrofibrous armor, 12 double heat sinks, and carries a single medium X pulse laser, 6 medium lasers. So then it has the fact that the has a actuator enhancement for improving targeting. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. 6 medium lasers and a medium pulse X pulse laser. Definitely something that if you get into close range, it is possible. You know, everything's in that right arm though. But you could jump out, hammer him with the, you know, say, well, how many we had? 13? Was it 13 double heat sinks? 12 double heat. So it dissipates 12. That's our, do the math here. Yeah, you're going to go up a little bit on the heat scale, but you're with 6 and medium lasers and a pulse laser. If you hit with all those, that's a good amount of damage. And follow up with a hatchet attack. Yeah, somebody's going to be hurting. And if it's a lighter medium mech and you connect with most of that stuff, that thing is a pile of junk then, because it's going to lose almost half of its armor. Okay, we got some custom versions. The Hatchetman Austin. This is the Davian mech. Okay, his 3rd medium laser has, okay, it's basically the S version. 3050 era moved up to refitted, identical to the 6S for the Lyrian Alliance conflict. All ER medium lasers in the arm, left arm. Yeah, that's kind of throwing all your eggs in one basket type of thing, but yeah, it's not a bad little mech, but that's just more or less custom. So when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the Hatchetman in most of its iterations is still relegated to a city fight. So if you are fighting in something that is open terrain or anything like that, it's going to be hindered. It does have that autocannon, so it can shoot out to range, but it puts a bit of tonnage into carrying around an axe that has to be done up close and personal. So yeah, it's one of those that typically if I'm running out into a game where it's open terrain, running around in open fields and woodlands, or well, if you got a heavy wooded area, yeah, I might take an axeman or a hatchetman. But without an urban combat zone, it's not really my first. It'd be a second line choice when it comes to those circumstances. Now, what would I do with this thing if I had one and I got a 5S? I probably would turn around and say, hey, anybody want to buy an XL engine? I'm converting this thing back to its regular engine component, and then I'd probably give it double heat sinks, increase it to 10 doubles, and then I would drop off that LBX10 in favor of either ER large laser or ER PPC, and then take that extra tonnage and I might even put ferrofibers on him if he had access to that kind of stuff. But overall, yeah, it's not something that I would really consider too much. Now, one thing you could do if you wanted to keep an XL engine on this thing is increase it to make it a 585, drop off the autocannon, put an ER PPC on it, and you could put ferrofibers on board and then give it some medium pulse laser, keep some of the medium pulse lasers on it, and throw a couple more medium lasers and some ECM. So that is a possibility. Then give it some more double heat sinks. And let's see, so there's a couple ideas that you could toss out. But if I just had the standard version, I would just drop off the autocannon, put an ER large or something, and then upgrade the armor and keep the medium lasers. And if I could put more medium lasers on board, toss more on, just give you more bang for your buck. So when you get in close, make good use of all the weapons on board. Maybe drop off the ER large in favor of firing all your medium lasers to strip armor off, and then hammer it with the hatchet. And if you get a head hit with the medium lasers and follow up with a head hit, yeah, bonus. But overall, that is pretty much it. That's everything could be said about the Hatchetman. Not a bad mech, not a first choice in the 5S version unless you're in a city fight. But if you do get a city fight, yeah, maybe take one. You know, beggars can't be choosy. Alright, hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with all your friends, and we will talk with y'all later. Hellcracks out.